Hiya, I'm your host Terry J. Aman with Evanescence, Eve 6, Eclipse, Edie Brickell, Ed Sheeran, Elton John, John Allen, Elvis Costello, Enya, Eminem, Enigma, and Vogue, Eric Heatherly, Erasure, and the Eurythmics. This episode of VideoFuzzy the Soundtrack is brought to you by the letter E. Hit it!
VideoFuzzy the Soundtrack.
Episode 6, Taking Over Me. Yep, quick aside, I said my friend John Allen is indeed joining me for this one. If that's who you're here to hear, skip ahead a ways around the 20-minute mark. We talk about Ed Sheeran's Give Me Love. It's a lot of fun. Starting us off, though, I've got...
Title track.
Last time I mentioned Taking Over Me by Evanescence. I usually try to drill down and understand the lyrics to songs I enjoy because I'm a message-centered person with an analytical mind. So, along with the tunes and the harmonies, the poetry carried along inside their currents is of interest because I love to sing along and I get embarrassed easily if I've misheard something and sing it wrong. And I love this song with its soaring vocals and complex musicality, a dark mix of brooding and energetic, supporting Amy Lee's haunting ethereal vocals. The energies of Taking Over Me fit so perfectly. The piano strains is delicate and despondent over thrash metal riffs. I had to sit with Taking Over Me for a while because I felt it wasn't Amy singing it. She wasn't singing it herself. She chose a character I didn't immediately recognize, and if I wanted to know what was going on, I had some work to do. You don't remember me, but I remember you. I lie awake and try so hard not to think of you, but who can decide what they dream, and dream I do. The joke in the opening verse is that trying hard not to think of something is a sure way of thinking only about that thing. Try not to think of a big funny clown. Try very hard not to think of big funny clowns with a little car and wild polka dot costumes and big shoes honking the red rubber noses. Do not think of a bunch of big silly clowns. Your brain is a circus now. But the clues begin there, in the opening lines. You don't remember me, but I remember you. The singer addresses me. You. The singer is addressing a specific person, not a lover or a family member. No one currently in their life. You don't remember me. But taking the rest of the song, they are hugely important to the singer. It needs them to live, to breathe. Have you forgotten all I know and all we had? Confusion. You saw me moaning my love for you and touched my hand. A moment of direct physical contact that validates the singer's entire emotional state. I knew you loved me then. Their obsession comes through in words. I believe in you. I'll give up everything just to find you. I have to be with you to live, to breathe. You're taking over me. The situation describes very few real-world interactions I've ever had. None of my relationships are like this. This love is all-consuming, but its object is remote, intractable. I'll give up everything just to find you. Another clue. I look in the mirror and see your face. If I look deep enough, so many things inside that just like you are taking over. Where does one look deeply into a mirror? One's bedroom? A bedroom mirror bordered, covered all but completely over with pictures cut from magazines and fan love. The singer is an obsessed fan. Now I'm envisioning a rainy parking lot outside a tour bus. Her biggest fan. It's gone well beyond autographs. This isn't fair, but it's just easier to hear this song in the voice of a teenage girl, but a hollow-eyed fan, desperate to grasp Amy's cloak, steal her clothes, take her hair, wear her skin. Yikes, we're deep in Annie Wilkes territory. Tori Amos with Me and a Gun. I suspect Amy wrote this, and given the fraught emotional states this band's work inhabits, I can easily imagine an encounter that would spark a creation like this. You're taking over me. Just, wow. The one interview I saw was cryptic, but Amy Lee herself says the song is about obsession rather than any specific situation, which sounds like an artist's attempt to highlight universal themes. Other listeners in discussion forums came to the same conclusion I outlined here, so it was probably not so far afield. Other theories were that it's about God, which doesn't really track with this band's oeuvre, or that it's about the sister Amy lost at a very young age, which actually strikes me as somewhat more plausible than an appeal to religion of any sort. I guess I prefer my theory because it's mine, and because of the following observation. When Amy is singing this song, I am hearing all of it. I'm hearing the singer's obsession. I'm hearing a deep, unresolved emotional need. What I'm not hearing is any judgment in her voice. None. I'm not hearing any contempt for a fan who way overstepped at some past point. Possibly several, even many secret cutters, bedrooms painted black, chic land of the night. I don't hear any ridicule or superiority in this delivery. If my theory is correct, it sounds like Amy found this voice, this point of view, and that she found it to be relatable. Girls she knew, girls she'd been. I don't think you explore the mindscapes and topics Evanescence does without knowing exactly who your entire fan base is, because on some level you are numbered among them. They love her, and she loves them, but while there needs to be boundaries, because, well, listen to the song. Taking over me can seriously run in both directions. And sure, it's all theory. Her comment on it was brief and glancing, but if ever there was a fan base whose emotions might lose control, Evanescence has gathered it. I was immediately drawn to this band, haunting vocals soaring over rough metal darkness. Then you've got Amy's expressive face filling an entire CD cover in their 2003 debut, Fallen. You had all of the emotional intensity of the debut single, Bring Me to Life, was just impossibly overwrought. The whole LP. I actually performed My Immortal at a karaoke night in Bismarck sometime. I think it was probably 2006. I'm not remembering any of the circumstances behind that at all, since I was actually living in Minot at the time, but I thought it went pretty well. Anyway, I added Fallen. I added their 2004 live performance release from Paris, Anywhere But Home, which duplicated a lot of the material I already had, but it's so fantastic listening to the excitement of this still young group and the enthusiasm they'd already generated. I added their 2006 release, The Open Door, as well, which I didn't enjoy quite as much, but I pulled in Call Me When You're Sober from that one to support a frenetic and, as usually happened with mine, far too on-the-nose Buffyverse fan bid for Anya and Xander's story arc through Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Along with several others, that video just up and vanished with my original YouTube channel, so there's no link to share, and I think that's probably just fine. I just pulled up my copy to look at it again, and along with frames from every scene I ever shared, I used every transition wipe that came with my editing program. Oh my god, Aman, it's called editing. Use longer clips, ones that illustrate the point you're hoping to make, and if you can get the scenes to match the energy of the song, it's not the point. The point is, Open Door is a fine LP with some great pieces, but I just did not find the same emotional connection that I found with Fallen.
The Lost Tracks.
In my Lost Tracks songs that did not transfer properly from one PC to the next, it looks like I reunited with Llorando by Escencia and Veronica by Elvis Costello. Llorando is Latin rock, driven and relentless. I have no idea what they're singing, but Google Translate took a run at it. It sounds like a family demanding their son return to them because mom is crying, and the son responding that he is also in pain. I don't know enough Spanish to parse any of it out for myself, but I do love the dark, wild energy of that piece. And Elvis Costello makes sense for the same reason that Dandy Warhols did last time, because in the mid-aughts, I was enjoying the first 3 seasons of Veronica Mars on the CW, and to find something out, she needed to sing that song at a karaoke night. Well, I do remember loving this song when it was released in the late 80s, so when I saw it in the show, it's probably when I added it, because that's about the range of purchase dates that vanished. Good to have it back, both of them, truly.
Influences.
Along with Evanescence, this set includes several influences, that is, artists with entire LPs in my collection, including Edie Brickell, Enigma, Enya, and Eve 6. Enigma and Enya are both pretty weird in very different ways, but both are artists I could throw on an MP3 player in the AM and just have running as background music for my entire day. The difference being that Enigma would be in much heavier rotation. I have one LP by that artist, their Love, Sexuality, Devotion Greatest Hits release from 2001. That was a huge surprise because I was sure I'd been listening to all these songs through college. Well, that's just how my brain works. I'd absolutely listen to Enigma when their music videos aired on MTV off the group's MXCAD release in 1990. That's why I associate them with a bunch of bizarre images, like the first computer animation of a rose blooming or something morphing into a robed figure vanishing into the middle of the screen. The music is chill chantcore, ancient sounds mixed into EDM. I'm remembering a release around the mid-90s called Chant, which was legit Gregorian chant recordings by Benedictine monks. Chant seemed to be having a moment at the time, and I pulled it up while putting this episode together. Whew, absolutely added. Enya, on the other hand, I'm not sure what the initial draw was, but I started with her self-titled 1987 release, Enya, and soon after added Watermark and Shepherd Moons on cassette, just going by sound levels. I mentioned her involvement in Clannad in episode 4. I also had the Watermark songbook, but I've explained my poor playing skills elsewhere. I guess I was drawn to the contemplative energy in her music and needed that in my life. I was pleased with the moment she was enjoying with the popularity of Orinoco Flow off the 1988 release of Watermark. For the band Eve 6, I pulled in 2 of their CD releases, Self-Titled from the late 90s and Horoscope from the early aughts. They've got some rage and they have some thoughts about it, but my initial spark was their, at the time, very relatable Inside Out. I love the phrasing and imagery of that piece. I would swallow my pride, I would choke on the rinds, but the lack thereof would leave me empty inside. I would swallow my doubt, turn it inside out, find nothing but faith in nothing. Wanna put my tender heart in a blender, watch spin round to a beautiful oblivion. Rendezvous, then I'm through with you. I also enjoyed other tracks like Open Road Song, Superhero Girl, and Sunset Strip Bitch, and Small Town Trap. Great tracks. Finally, this past week I was walking home from work listening to MP3s and a song from Edie Brickell's sophomore effort Picture Perfect Morning came up. Olivia is a dark, melodic mood that seemed perfect. Images of a couple walking along a harbor filled with halos. Icicle centuries burst into gentle breeze. Somewhere a curse has been lifted. She turned around in her chair and he touched her hair. And the universe shifted. My favorite. There is so much more to see. Why stay behind when you can go home with me? There's a very subtle sea shanty energy to it. Oh, Olivia, won't you let your heart come home? Oh, Olivia, leave them wild young boys alone. Edie Brickell I have enjoyed since my earliest days in college. I Know What I Am burst on the scene with neo-hippie coolness, introducing us to this fresh new voice and point of view. I'm not aware of too many things. I know what I know, if you know what I mean. Philosophy is a walk on the slippery rocks. Religion is a light in the fog. It's not the moon, it's the finger pointing at the moon, but I loved the dual read you can take on I'm not aware of too many things, the flat read that she's basically unaware, or that she is aware of exactly the right number of things. This song was the right amount of clever, I thought, for the time. Choke me in the shallow water before I get too deep. I enjoy her energy. I only have the 2 LPs, Shooting Rubber Bands at the Stars, released with the New Bohemians in 1988, and her Picture Perfect Morning, released under her own name in 1994, but they're both full of great poetry, clean, uncomplicated images that hint at greater depths for those seeking to explore. Breakouts. Breakouts include artists with multiple tracks in my collection. I absolutely love Tori Amos and will spend plenty of time with her when we get to that part of my collection, but a taste of things to come. I've got Eclipse covering some of her work, a couple of seriously strong tracks in Crucify and Caught a Light Sneeze. Her vocals are a great match for Tori's songs, and the musicality is the tiniest bit more complex, but who's complaining? This is one of those situations where the originals are so good and the covers are so faithful, there's no reason for them, but however I encountered these pieces, I'm happy to have them. And this universe has provided not only a Tori Amos, but a spare. It speaks well for this timeline, honestly. One of the few things it does. Another breakout, Sir Elton John, oh my word. Well, The Way You Look Tonight is a brilliant song, just will always make me smile because my husband sang along to it while gassing up our car one night. I was leaned back in the passenger seat so I could watch him while he sang and pumped gas. It was a wonderful moment. I got Your Song after Moulin Rouge came out, and Rocket Man and I'm Still Standing after Rocket Man came out, which is an amazing film, and I really need to watch it again one day. I've loved I'm Still Standing since I first heard it. It's been used in tons of things, but oh, that ridiculous music video. Well, it was the 80s. Seriously, what you gonna do? I think they ran it side by side with the original in the closing credits, or I'm pretty sure someone did. If I can find a link, I'll share it. Eminem, I talked about his video for Stan last time, as he sampled Dido's Thank You pretty heavily, though I don't believe Stan is in my collection anywhere. Possibly the video is somewhere. I have to see if it turns up. Meanwhile, a few of his that I did add include We Made You and Ass Like That, which is a fun extended dig on Triumph the Insult Comic Dog, R. Kelly, Michael Jackson, and Pee Wee Herman. Earl Father Hines is technically in here for multiple appearances in a CD set I got of classic songs. I enjoyed his I Ain't Got Nobody, which has obviously made appearances all over the place, including Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf and David Lee Roth's solo work, Just a Gigolo. Everywhere I go, people know the part I'm playing. Father Hines' track is a piano-led instrumental that's fun energy to it. Very nice. Emmylou Harris. I came to this singer late. I know she had all kinds of music released through the 70s and 80s. I gained a renewed appreciation for her when she released Thanks to You in 1993. Well, goodness, is it really real? It would take a baby child to know the way I feel. Oh my, flutter in the blue. I would take the credit, but it's thanks to you. And I loved her work in the Oh Brother Where Art Thou soundtrack in the 2000s. It didn't leave nobody but the baby. Beautiful voice. And En Vogue, oh wow, these women tore it completely up when they released My Lovin', Never Gonna Get It, and Free Your Mind. I needed to buy that single release in 1992. I enjoyed the powerful lyrics and their brilliant vocal blend, which, combined with very talented instincts for visuals and production values, produced some great-looking music videos. Elvis Costello I love for his cover of humorous romantic piece I'll Never Fall in Love Again, and for the video of his I fell in love with the 1990s, Veronica. That got pulled into my collection when Kristen Bell, I mentioned it up there, Kristen Bell had to sing a karaoke version of it in order to secure some information on Veronica Mars. I have to rewatch that scene again at some point, but it was pretty cool. Finally, the Eurythmics. I chatted about Annie Lennox's solo project Diva in episode 2, and I always loved her vocals. The Eurythmics works in my collection are darker toned 80s pieces. Here Comes the Rain Again, falling on my head like a memory, falling on my head like a new emotion, and Don't Mess with a Missionary Man, and Sweet Dreams Are Made of This, Who Am I to Disagree, Traveled the world to the 7 seas, everybody's looking for something, which was the first karaoke I ever sang, and oh boy, that did not go well. I had just reacted to another song someone was singing as being too repetitive, and, well, the Marilyn Manson version of this had just come out, and I was trying to emulate that, and that, oh heavens, no, the music did not support that. My vocal range said, and I did not get another song to try to redeem myself. So really, my first karaoke attempt in 2005 was disastrous, and I'm very glad I kept at it. Sparks. Oh, and this should be fun. Give Me Love by Ed Sheeran. I wanted to get a couple different views on this. I first encountered this well of longing placed perfectly at an emotionally critical moment in a 4th season episode of ABC's Cougar Town, after which I pulled this piece into my collection. It played over the end of a Valentine's episode. I loved it, and felt nothing but good things about it. Until a friend of mine, friend of the pod, posted, in his opinion, this song is the worst song ever. And I heard his complaint, and hearing it and his point, I could not unhear it. But back in my 2nd episode, I said these words, and I meant them. I belong with Arctic Monkeys, do I want to know? Dark, compulsive piece feels restless and unresigned, taking no for an answer, which, well, just like human impulses, not every song is entirely healthy. We're going to get into that more as this project continues. And speaking of dark... So yeah, sometimes songs aren't written to our lighter, more perfect selves. In Give Me Love, a lovelorn, lonely man feeling sorry for himself contemplates drunk dialing an ex. He's sorry, but mostly sorry that he's alone. He doesn't sound to be worried over much with how he got that way, and that's the kindest possible take. There's already a read on this song where he is stalking an ex or a rebound shag. Now, here to tell me why I'm wrong to still like this song is my friend John Allen from Shreveport, also known as Mitch Dangersnake from Australia.
Australia, we love you, right?
John, welcome. VideoFuzzy the Soundtrack has increased its demands to 13 reasons why Ed Sheeran's Give Me Love is a bad song. John?
It would be the song.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being part of this. I guess it was I don't remember. I mean, it was a while ago now. I think probably... goodness, when was Cougar Town on? Because that was the first time I'd heard that song was when they aired it, and I think that was probably a 4th season, so it was along the 2011-2012 kind of timeline, and like not long after that I had seen your comment about the Ed Sheeran's Give Me Love, and I was like, oh, well, I had such a good opinion of that song. And then I read the lyrics.
Well, I mean, like all pop songs, it is very melodramatic.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, you got to take pop music for what it is. Pop music is, I believe, at its core, kind of inherently adolescent, and I don't mean that as derogatory as it may sound.
No.
I mean, it's meant for, I'm 50 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And, my kids and everything like that occasionally will be talking about their various and sundry music, and they'll be like, listen to this, and I'll be listening to it, and I'm like, this is a pretty good song. I'm not its target audience.
No.
This is not written for me.
No.
This is, and, when I re-listen to it, because to be honest with you, it is completely plausible that I said something negative about Ed Sheeran. Mm-hmm. But re-listening to it, I mean, it's a perfectly passable one. The ending of it is beyond melodramatic. It is just too much.
Love me! Oh! It's the whole outside in the street in the rain screaming.
Oh, yeah. I mean, literally, I'm listening to it and I'm like, Ed, we get it. But also, he's done a little work, because I was sitting there realizing, like Castle on the Hill is, I don't know, a more mature pop song, definitely a pop song, but it's Give Me Love. That one is designed to be a needle drop in a show. That's what, and it does that well, and pretty much anything, if you get a little bit and then it brings you into the hook, that's going to sound great. And if you cut it together well, that's going to be awesome. Just don't listen to the whole song.
If you listen to the whole song, you've got this guy who's been alone for a minute, and he's
a difficult guy.
Yeah.
I mean, if you listen to it, there is some perspective. It's a little more mature than a lot of your standard adolescent. It's kind of self-aware that he's not the most easy guy to love. No. It's almost like he's demanding love.
Yeah. And that was where it got a little dark, and it was kind of like when the first line is, give me love like her, and like, whoa.
Yes.
Who?
Which, again, at least this is not, your standard little throwaway kind of pop song. It's got a bit of an edge to it, which I can respect, but yeah, it's like...
Rebound?
Yeah, I can see I can see how, if you're going to use that on a soundtrack, you're going to cut that part.
They did start past that one for sure.
It's like people who think One by U2 is a love song.
Yeah.
It's not.
No. And in this case, it's hard to know exactly who he's addressing because you don't know if it's a rebound relationship that he's been pursuing for a while, or because they're not together, they're not like living together. We
could spend 35 minutes drilling down into how this links into rape culture.
Yeah, it really does. There is something about my needs are superseding, and also kind of stalkery, and that was something like, okay, no, I can completely understand where you were coming from when you were talking. It was just a throwaway Facebook post, but it was kind of like, okay, I saw your point.
Yeah, and it's like Sting talking about when the police did Every Breath You Take. The realization that so many people didn't realize that he was playing a character, and that was a critique on stalking. Yeah. And people thought it was sincere. And I read somewhere that on his solo career, the song "If You Love Someone, Set Them Free," he literally recorded that as refuting Every Breath You Take.
Oh, I think I can see that. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I just had wanted to my lead in for this is VideoFuzzy has increased its demands to 13 reasons why Ed Sheeran's Give Me Love is a bad song. But I don't think either of us are coming to the, it's like you said, it's perfectly good, maybe even a step beyond your usual throwaway pop love song, maybe a little more mature, but it's like, okay, well, and my take on it is that music doesn't always come from the best parts of our souls. He's talking about, okay, now I'm getting wasted tonight. I'm probably just going to drunk dial. And it's like, okay, no, that's probably been the experience of some people, who are listening to this song too. And it's, thank you. I wanted to thank you for that perspective too. It was really cool.
Well, of course. Listen, the only thing that is required of art is that it is honest. And if, people shove that somewhere, I don't think the song was written to be a love song. It's a song about obsession, and it's a dark song. Yeah,
it really does come from dark places.
Plenty of times people take it like, oh, well, do you use this for whatever? And they're like, have you really listened to the song? Is this the right needle drop you need for this?
Yeah, I think they were going for some energy that worked in the space that they were using it and the parts that they did use of it. And then when you got to explore it a little bit, yeah, you're absolutely right. I don't know if it's the worst, but it for sure, that stood out in my mind as, hey, what did you not like about, oh.
It would be the song.
Yeah. The song itself. And yeah, probably, there's absolutely a take on it. So I wanted to thank you for your time tonight to talk about this a little bit too, and get dig in and just maybe get some conversation about this music, because I've just been exploring my collection with this podcast, and it's great to be able to dig into some of these selections as well. John, thank you for your time tonight.
Of course, and anytime, man, you've got my number. Yep. I've always got opinions, you know that.
For sure. Thank you, John. That was a lot to think about. Thanks. Eric Heatherly's Flowers on the Wall is a bit of a twofer. The Statler brothers got plenty of play in my home as I was growing up, and this song was a favorite. Then it showing up in Pulp Fiction in the late 90s gave it some new life, at least in part inspiring the Eric Heatherly cover released in 2000. The video for his version included some Pulp Fiction Tarantinian imagery, such as the mic, the bowling shirt, the Thurman-esque dancer towards the end, and the cover is a good one. Most of the Statler brothers songs highlighted their four-part harmony. The cover keeps the bassy profundo lead-in for Kangaroo, smoking cigarettes and watching Captain Kangaroo. But otherwise the focus is on the melody, which works just fine. I keep hearing your concern about my happiness, but all that thought you're giving me is conscience, I guess. If I were walking in your shoes, I wouldn't worry none. While you and your friends are worried about me, I'm having lots of fun, counting flowers on the wall. That don't bother me at all. Playing solitaire till dawn with a deck of 51. Smoking cigarettes and watching Captain Kangaroo. Now don't tell me I got nothing to do. This is another one that reads Stock reacts because the one he's singing to is not at his home and not just out somewhere. He went to where presumably she was and addressed her there, because in the last verse he's outside on the sidewalk looking quite a fright, probably from all the sleepless nights, reacting either to the streetlights or the sunrise, and yeah, no, we don't really need the crime scene kitchen all of these to the same extent, do we? Everlast's What It's Like I reacted to like a social hymn, a great plea for empathy in pop culture. For the homeless guy, I preferred the gritty street contrast of that exchange with somewhat more detached and sanitized contemplation in Bruce Ormsby's The Way It Is, released a decade earlier. Everlast taking on abortion rights protesters and humanizing drug dealers took on social injustice beyond a just say no and the kind of oppression women have been dealing with and continue to deal with, particularly a year after the Dobbs decision was handed down and red states' race to become Gilead. The world needs more protest songs, particularly because, well, it's an audio medium, you can't see me gesturing vaguely. I found Erasure's Gaudete in my collection. I'm absolutely in love with this presentation of what has got to be one of the first Christmas songs. It's entirely in Latin and this group understood the assignment, each member presenting a solo verse and blending their harmonies in the chorus. What I love is there's a very clear, almost Miles Davis-like space to add one's own harmony. Christmas music or not, I added this song to my regular rotation for a while, mainly because I enjoyed singing along to it. Here's the version I presented in episode 33 of VideoFuzzy around the 420 mark.
Gaudete, gaudete, Christus natus ex Maria Virgine, gaudete, 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 Christus natus ex Maria Virgine, gaudete.
And here it is with the harmony line I came up with.
Gaudete, gaudete, Christus natus ex Maria Virgine, gaudete, 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 Christus natus ex Maria Virgine, gaudete.
Absolutely fantastic piece. Elastica's 2-1 off the Trainspotting soundtrack. This one is some good trance-core, multi-layered, relentless insistence. Light, ethereal lyrics stretched across an adamantium framework. Then I had Edwin Collins' Magic Piper of Love. Oh, the time machine this song is. It's such a great pick from the Austin Powers soundtrack. Music selections for the whole damn show were fantastic, and I loved this one. Eliza Gilkison's Wild Horse is a wistful ballad off the Putumayo Women's Work coffee shop CD anthology I bought once in the 90s. Sweet, reflective vocals over piano. It was a nice, chill vibe. And then there's Eileen Barton's If I Knew You Were Comin', I'd have baked a cake. If I knew you were comin', I'd have baked a cake. Baked a cake, baked a cake. If I knew you were comin', I'd have baked a cake. How'd you do, how'd you do, how'd you do? This ridiculous song. The only thing to say at the end is, so, no cake then, huh? With E.G. Daly's Waiting off the Breakfast Club soundtrack. I don't even remember this from the movie, but the energy is right, subtle complexity with low-key suspense undertones. And Ellie Goldenthal's Batman Overture from Batman and Robin was just Exhibit A from the break-in at Danny Elfman's studio, but whatever. It's a damn fine theme, I said it. And that'll wrap us up for the E's. Thanks again to John Allen, and thanks to all of you for checking in on me as I poke around in my music collection. As always, anything that might have reminded anyone of singing in this or any VideoFuzzy production, let me assure you that it wasn't. Any low-bar karaoke attempts you may have encountered in this tiny little project would only have been included for illustrative purposes as part of a fair use review, and it certainly weren't meant to infringe on anyone's licensure or copyright. Go forth, buy songs that support the artists you love. Meanwhile, please add, follow, and subscribe to VideoFuzzy the Soundtrack wherever you get podcasts, and with any questions, comments, or artist suggestions, please contact me through my show notes or by email at tjaman1970@yahoo.com. For VideoFuzzy the Soundtrack, I'm Terry J. Aman. Happy listening! .25-minute mark, around the 20-minute mark, around the 21-minute mark, around the 30-minute mark, around the 28-minute mark, around the 26-minute mark, around the 32-minute mark, around the 40-minute mark, around the 35-minute mark, around the 15-minute mark, around the 17-minute mark. We talk around then. About halfway through. About 2/3 of the way through.